disruptors, and welcome to another episode of Mindset Mastery Moments with yours truly, Dr. Alisa Whyte. Today, I am so excited to have this conversation with a phenomenal guest, but I have a question for you. Have you been feeling a little bit anxious, a little bit stressed, just a little bit uneasy, or just, I don't know what this funky energy is? Well, I kind of been running into that a lot, and I'm pretty sure our guest today, who I get to introduce you to in just a couple of minutes, has heard that quite a bit. As a matter of fact, I know he's had his own experience with that. But here's a little bit of thing. If you're feeling a little blue, did you know that according to the American Institute of Stress, over 77% of people experience stress that affects both their physical health, and nearly 33% of them report extreme stress. Chronic stress has been linked to a host of issues, from heart disease to diminished mental health and clarity, and that makes more issues that bring us to the importance of innovative ways to address and resolve stress, not just so we can get by, but to go to the root and the core of it. Well, as you see, I have a radiant guest here in the studio with me today on Mindset Mastery Moments, who knows all about stress and exactly how to combat that. Joining us is Mr. Christopher Lee Maher. Christopher, it is just so exciting to have you here with us today.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. That was a great intro.
Thank you. But listen, I've got to tell our viewers and listeners a little bit about you and your background and how you came into this world of the true body intelligence, which that's just phenomenal. I can't wait to get into it.
Okay.
But here's a little bit about our guest, Christopher. He is a retired U.S. Navy SEAL, and thank you so much, sir, for your service. He is also a best-selling author and a holistic wellness pioneer. Christopher has dedicated his life to unraveling the complexities of stress and, of course, I'm going to say it, healing. That's our favorite part, right? Helping countless individuals transform their lives through his groundbreaking true body intelligence methodology. His own journey began with the extreme physical toll of his SEAL career, leading to chronic pain, health issues that pushed him to the brink. His perseverance and quest for full holistic healing birthed the revolutionary paradigm for stress resolution and total integration. Chris, once again, it's an awesome pleasure to have you on Mindset Mastery Moments, and it's clear your personal story is as profound as the work you have developed. But before I dive into true body intelligence with you, can you tell us about yourself and why you do what you do?
I do what I do because I love it. I mean, seeing people's lives change, seeing people who are struggling with something that's very complex and suffering in some way that's unnecessary, allows me to use my mind, allows me to use my energy, allows me to use my body, allows me to use my emotions and my passion for living to be able to help them create a quality life.
Wow. Walk us through a little bit of the background. How did you even get on the journey to desiring to create something so unique and well needed, not just by you, but of course you served it to the rest of the world?
I think what happened for me, and I always like to be upfront and honest in this sense, is that I was never looking to change the world, right? I was somebody at the time when I was 27 years old. I was looking to see what I could get for myself from the world, right? And even though I was sweet, I was always generous, I was always kind, I was always up for anything, I wasn't up for changing the world in the way that I am now, because I had no idea that the world needed changing in these ways. And when you have pain in your body, I know as someone who's a Navy SEAL, it's something you kind of keep to yourself.
Yeah.
Because, you're indoctrinated in a certain way to never complain, to never moan, and to never whine. And if you don't mind being in pain, keep shooting towards your goal.
Yes.
Because the mind is stronger than the body.
Mm.
And that was true for a while. And then at some point, I found out really quickly that the mind might be strong, but the body has limitations.
Mm.
And I was overtraining constantly. I was up too late at night. I was in school full time, and had a goal. My goal was to get to Olympic trials, and I was strained in every direction of my life. And yet, because my stress resilience was so high, I
Mhm.
had no clue that eventually one day this would lead to unrelenting pain.
Wow. Wow.
And I was ignorant and I was naive. And yet I was full of energy and my mind was clear in the sense that if you gave me information that made more sense than the information that I had gathered, I was always open to going down a different avenue and putting an old door closed. And so when the pain first came into my body, I did what I think most men do. We kind of suck it up and
Yeah.
just kind of keep moving along.
Yeah.
And fortunate for me, I got in a car accident. Some
Mm.
guy came ripping down a hill, going about 40 plus miles an hour. I was at a stoplight. He ran through the light and crashed into my car. And that event caused all the pain on the left side of my body to get shoved into the middle of my left hip. And then, rather than it being intermittent and somewhat chronic, it was unrelenting discomfort. So, whether I was sitting, whether I was running, hopping, jumping, lifting, squatting, lunging, the discomfort was always there. So there was no way to get away from it. And I did probably what I would consider the most courageous thing I'd ever done my whole life. I reached out and I asked for help. Because before that time, that was something that was foreign to me.
Right.
You know, you're a man, you figure things out.
You do. Yeah.
And no matter what I did on my own, no matter how much stretching I did, all the basic things that you could do, none of it went away. And a friend came to my house who I called, and he brought a yoga mat, he brought a juicer. And he was getting in these fanciful yogic postures that I was unable to get into even one. And as if it was frustrating for me, I think it was comical for him.
Yeah.
And he finally, in the end, said, look, you need to get into structural integration and find a rolfer. And a rolfer is someone who uses their elbows and their forearms and a lot of pressure to work on your connective tissue called fascia.
Mm.
And I found one, took me a while. I finally got a little bit of relief. And I was happy for the relief. And yet eventually, after those 11 sessions were over, things started to creep back in a bit. And then I realized that, oh, well, that isn't a permanent solution.
Yeah.
Yet I was still grateful for the experience. And that led me to the next thing. And then the next thing led me to the next thing. And the next thing led me to the next thing for about 2 years solid. And then at one point I woke up one morning, I thought, I'm going to start doing it all simultaneously. Maybe that'll be the thing that works. I'll get
Yeah.
the acupuncture done. I'll do the acupressure. I'll go to hot yoga. I'll do Feldenkrais. I'll do the Gasku method. I'll continue to receive structural integration work. And that's what I was doing. And I thought things were moving along. And I
Okay.
started to feel a greater amount of distance from the debilitating states of discomfort that my body was in. And then one day I got an email from a friend I went to boarding school with named Mark Pershbalaja. And it said, look, I found this guy. He's got 5 stretches that will change your life. And I'm thinking, I got it together. Why don't you take these 5 stretches and change your life? Like, who the hell are you to be emailing me that I need to change my life? Like, you're 5 years younger than me. Like, come on.
Get it together, dude.
Yeah. And I ignored his message. And then 2 weeks later, I got a call from one of my clients at the time, a young woman named Maddie. And she said, hey, I saw this guy in Good Morning America. He's got 5 stretches that'll change your life. And I thought, no, she said, I saw this guy in Good Morning America. And I said to her, let me guess, he's got 5 stretches that'll change my life. And she goes, did you see the episode? And I was like, no, but I'm starting to get the point. And then I went and I tracked this guy down. Took me a bit, took a while. And I went up and I saw him. And he worked on me for actually around 6 to 8 hours a day for 4 days in a row. And after that, all my pain was gone. And I was like very happy with that investment of time, energy, effort, and resources. But simultaneously, I could feel myself getting upset because I spent all that time, I spent all that energy, I spent all that effort, and I spent all that money. And if I needed to go a mile, they took me an inch.
Um,
Okay? And I needed to go like 100 miles, but at least this guy got me 10 miles down the road.
Road, yeah.
Right? And then he was able to teach me things that I could do to myself. And I like that idea because I'm more a fan of interdependent relationships.
Yes, that is the healthiest form.
Yeah. Versus the one we see in the current model in holistic and allopathic Western medicine.
Yeah.
And so that gave me a lot of peace in my heart, yet it gave me a path forward. Mm-hmm. And so I decided to go back home and I worked on everything he taught me 5 to 6 hours a day.
Wow.
Every chance I got, because I could feel it getting a little better and a little better and a little better. Yeah. So rather than only the discomfort being gone, I started to notice that my energy was increasing. I started to notice my anxiety was decreasing. I started to notice that my communication was more clear. I started to notice that my mind was more clear.
Wow.
And that my body was getting even more comfortable, even stronger. And so I decided within a short amount of time that I was going to devote my life to this. Wow. And so I abandoned what I was doing for work and I shifted in this direction. And that was 2001, June like 15th, 16th, I made that decision.
Vision. Wow. And you remember it distinctly. I love the specificity. That speaks into the fact that it was definitely a life-changing moment for you. Yeah. And especially when you're coming from that journey of pain and you're starting to realize so much clarity and sort of, I would say, healing in a holistic way. You remember, you won't forget. So let's talk about TBI and the science behind that. So that it's TBI for those who are listening. I don't know if anyone calls it that, but that's
yeah, that's what I call it.
Very nice. It stands for True Body Intelligence. Yes.
Yeah. True Body Intelligence was born out of necessity for myself.
Yes. Best.
And so my investigation turned into a vocation.
Wow.
And then that transformation led to a desire for greater education, which is what caused me to decide to produce all the material and all the data that I'm putting into the world so that people who are in a difficult position like me, the stuff that they're doing is less than efficient relative to what their real desire is. Then they hopefully, they can find me and they can find the work.
Yeah.
And they can find some inspiration and get some education and make some of their own levels of transformation. And so True Body Intelligence is a suite of systems. And each system addresses a different layer of the human experience. And so, you and I are at a great privilege because of the time that we're in. If we go back 200 years ago, it was very difficult to find anyone in the world who was having a conversation around emotional intelligence.
Right.
it was a very difficult conversation to find someone 100 years ago talking about physical intelligence,
Right.
right? It was even more difficult to find someone speaking about spiritual intelligence. Very easy to strike up a conversation about religion, very
Religion.
difficult to
Different.
strike up a conversation around spiritual intelligence because it
Yes.
was unsafe at that time to venture out on your own
Or
and
think
decide what
outside of
the
the
box,
box.
and then create your own identity around, or your own value system around, what spirituality meant to you. And so at True Body Intelligence, we address all bodies, right? We address the physical body through specific movements that we teach you to do on yourself. We
Hmm.
have another system called eye-centric strength, which are specific movements that we do on you, so we assist you so you
Hmm.
can generate more force and create more change. And then we have a system that addresses all the energetic bodies, the chakras, the nadis, the electromagnetic channels, specific types of breath work. And then we have work that addresses the mental body, quieting the mind, calming it all down. And so if you quiet your mind, you have massive amounts of energy in your system, your body's super comfortable and strong, and your emotions are grounded. Do you
Yeah.
think it's easy to develop a really powerful life that you love consistently?
Oh, yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
1000%. And
Yeah.
so I'm more of an amalgamated being, which means I have a high level of emotional intelligence, I have a high level of kinesthetic awareness, I have a high level of analytical intelligence, and I have a high level of spiritual energetic intelligence. And so for me, I want to create systems that allow everyone to be able to grow in whatever ways in which they want, right?
Right.
And so
Question.
this,
What did you
yeah,
describe yourself as? I want to make sure we caught
an
that.
amalgamated being.
Okay, it's alchemy. Coming
Yeah.
from alchemy, right?
Yeah. And so, when you're amalgamated, you're, rather than relying on one source of intelligence, you're able to
Mm.
rely on many sources of intelligence because each
Mm.
moment is different. And for me, amalgamated beings are most interested in serving what the moment is asking for, no more or no less.
Wow, I love
And
that.
yeah, and that takes a certain level of mastery. That takes a certain mindset,
Yes.
right? And that
Yes.
takes a certain letting go of expectations
Mm.
that you were raised with because of the ideals that were hammered into you in your childhood that no longer resonate or vibrate to who it is you truly are as an incarnate soul.
Whew. Okay. All right. You're going to have to rewind that a little bit, but I'm going to pick through it because you're speaking language that speaks to my soul. And I'm pretty sure there's several of our viewers and listeners are going to experience that and be like, I don't know what he just said, but it sounds so right to me and my soul, right? And that's what I mean. I get an idea because in my own journey, maybe I'm on the journey of getting to be a being like you because I can't say the word. I have to see it
Being an
phonetically.
amalgamated being, everyone can
Amalgamated.
be an amalgamated being. They only need the right tools.
They need the right tools. So
That's
I
it.
feel like I've been on this journey spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally for a while. So tell us, when you talk about letting go of how you were raised to, that's one of the biggest things for me, or what you were taught. I always talk about true values, core beliefs, and making that shift. What does that look like, Christopher?
I mean, what it looks like for me on a daily basis versus a
Mm-hmm.
yearly basis is quite different. On a daily basis, what it means is this: it means getting into different positions and postures and activating the inherent intelligence and consciousness that lives inside of each and every single organ in my body.
Mm.
And going and seeing many different practitioners every single week to continue to elevate my vibration. So whether that's esoteric acupuncture, whether that's holotropic breathing, whether that's rolfing, whether that's deep tissue massage, whether that's 5 element acupuncture, whether that's going to the gym and working out, whether that's going to a yoga class, like a sound healing class, always continuing to add value to my life by allowing other people who have high forms of intelligence to come in and help me shed another layer of fear, help me
Mm,
shed another layer of anxiety, help me
mm,
shed another layer of self-righteousness, and help
mm.
me shed another layer of anger, frustration, agitation, and irritation so that I can become a more cohesive reflection of love.
Woo. Talk about the two forces, fear or love, and someone's like, ah, I don't believe, we're always moving towards the spectrum, and we can go higher and higher towards back to love, a return to love. My other question, which you so well explained, you mentioned a word of that is a hot topic in my head. And in many of the conversations I find myself in the last few weeks, and that is letting go of expectation.
Yes.
When you say that, what do you mean?
What I mean is that expectation always leads you away from the light. Okay. And so the moment is the master, meaning whatever is occurring is in reality. Whatever you wanted to occur versus what actually happened is a fantasy. And so you have to let go of fantasy and accept reality, because reality is never determined by one being, because everything is a co-created process, meaning that when you go to eat, you have to co-create with forks and knives and pans and bowls. When you go to the bathroom, you have to co-create with toilet paper and a toilet seat. When you shower, you got to co-create with shampoo and soap and sponges and brushes. When you want to travel to the bank, you got to co-create with your car or your tennis shoes or your skateboard or your bicycle. Like every single thing, every single element of actionable steps taken towards love, light, or fear and shadow is delivered through a co-creative process. And
Wow.
so when I'm viewing something from the outside and I'm judging it, and I'm criticizing it, and I'm disapproving of it, and I'm taking an overly moralizing position over that thing, I'm saying that I know better than reality. And the reality is you're triggered and you're upset. And the only reason why you are triggered and you are upset is because your measure of expectation was greater than reality. And then you have to ask yourself,
Realize now.
yeah, why do you want to compete with God?
Oh, you're gonna lose every time.
You're
Well,
going to
I don't
lose
want to
every
be.
time,
If you're gonna
right?
do a competition, you're never gonna win.
Yeah, because reality is what occurs in the moment. A
Oh,
fantasy is what occurs in. If I want fantasy, that's why I go to movies, because I enjoy fantasy, right?
right.
They give me inspiration, they give me motivation to figure out how to maybe do things in a better way, right? How to be more
Yes.
communicative, how to be more vulnerable, how to be
Right.
more transparent, how to be more honest, how to be more emotional.
That is our motivation, but someone might be motivated for how to be more manipulative.
Yeah, for sure. Like whatever makes you happy, right? I'm
Right.
never here to judge or criticize or
Neither am I, but
disapprove
it's
because
it
I have
is.
no idea what your soul is meant to transition through.
Ooh, wow.
And darkness and shadow, they're very potent energies.
And there's part of the co-creation process,
That's
according
right.
to what you described earlier. Ah, love it.
Yes. There's always light and there's always darkness, right?
And
There's
it's
always light,
and
there's
there's
always
no
shadow.
light without darkness.
There's no light without darkness, there's no darkness
It's
without light,
without light.
right? Because light is what creates love, right? Light is information. And so what people have to understand is that in the beginning, before there was light, there was only love. And though we have light, which means that we have a co-creative force, a full spectrum of light that allows us to drive intention through it, in the end, the only thing that will ever matter is love. And light is the framework for us to be able to experience the love of God.
To tell you, I don't know. I think it's been about 13 or 14 years. I read A Return to Love by Marionette. And I've read it at least 3 times over the last 13 years. And I'm due for another reading.
Mm.
But that shook the core of everything that I sort of believe in as a religious person,
Mm-hmm.
but it also felt so right. And I remember reading the book and having guilt because I heard about it on the Oprah show, and it was derivative. It's like a rewrite of this other book that Christians were for bit. I'm not even going to go with it, but that's what was my journey with the book. But it just felt right for me. Even when I try to unmask and unravel Jesus, who was in my mind as a child, who I wanted to emulate, I wanted to be just like Jesus. That's like all I want. I didn't care too much about all the church stuff and all the politics. I just wanted to be like Jesus. He went around doing good. He fed people. People were changed, transformed, healed. And these were things I wanted to facilitate on the earth. And I wanted that ever since I was like a little girl, and it never changed. Even as a grown woman, that's still what I live after. The question I have for you, when you talk about expectations, you so articulately, I'm going to have a good time listening to this episode over and over again. Does that mean in a relationship? And then I'm going to use a personal scenario and let you reflect back to me.
Sure.
Let's say you're married, your partner, you're married to someone. Do
Sure.
you have expectations of them making sure that they pay the bills? Do you have expectations that they do clean up after themselves? Or should we be working towards welcoming that they do that, but not expecting it, so to speak? How do you approach the things that are like, we need to expect people to do what they said?
Well, I think what it is one, having clear agreements,
Mm.
right? And having realistic expectations. So let's say you marry a man who his mother cleaned up after him his whole life. Okay? And now he's married to you, and he's applying the same strategies that he applied when he was under her
For
care
30 something years or
for
so.
30 years, right? So then what's going to happen is you're going to be bothered by that.
Yeah.
And so in your bother, you have to ask yourself a question. And the question is, do people change overnight? And the answer is typically no. And so then what you're going to have to do is be willing to have that conversation again and again and again to your own benefit. Okay. And the reason why you have to have that conversation is because a healthy brain needs to hear things 9 to 32 times in order to grok a concept. That's a healthy brain. That's a brain that's never had sugar, never had alcohol, never had pharmaceutical drugs, never had recreational drugs, never had food colorings, never had preservatives. Okay?
I'm
Good
laughing
luck.
because you said a healthy brain. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, this is
Yeah.
going to be hard.
Right? Good luck finding a brain like that.
They're
On
probably
planet
2 months old.
Earth. Okay, yes.
And even then, they're probably giving them sugar already.
Yeah. Okay. So with that in mind, then you have to be realistic in your expectations. You go, look, well, I'm on a dense planet. Okay. The minds are dense, the bodies are dense, the emotions are dense, and the energy's dense. So what's a realistic expectation for me to have with my partner, who I know was taken care of by his mom his whole life? She cooked all of his food, she washed his laundry, she picked up his room. What's realistic? He's funny, he's kind-hearted, but he has this kind of area that's underdeveloped. How do I help him
Great word.
develop that? Well,
Yeah.
you have to sit down and you have to be willing to have difficult conversations, right? And then you have to create clear agreements based on those difficult conversations, but those have to be laced in with realistic expectations. So if you have a 2-year-old child and you say, hey, do me a favor, make sure you clean up your room, is that realistic? No, because